When I got back from surgery, stitches still aching, the first thing I noticed wasn't the smell of antiseptic or the empty bed. It was the sound. A low, steady hum coming from the kitchen. I walked in and froze. There was another refrigerator, brand new, gleaming silver, right beside mine. And before I could ask, my son turned around and said, "It's mine." Just like that. Cold, flat. Like I was the guest in my own home. Something in me knew. This wasn't about an appliance. It was about control, about something bigger he didn't want me to see. Before we go further, pause for a second. Where are you watching from? Drop your city and time in the comments. And if you've ever had family turn distant in ways you couldn't explain, subscribe now. Because what happened next could happen to anyone. Let's start from that night. I wasn't supposed to come home this early. My discharge papers weren't even dry when I asked the nurse to sign me out. After 3 weeks of hospital food and fluorescent lights, I was desperate to feel my own kitchen floor beneath my feet again. My son, Evan, said he'd take care of everything. He promised the house would be spotless, groceries stocked, bills handled. He sounded proud of himself. Maybe too proud. So when the cab dropped me off on Maplewood Drive that afternoon, I felt relief. At least until I walked through the door. The house smelled wrong. It didn't smell like lemons and fabric softener the way I'd left it. It smelled industrial, cold, like steel and something faintly chemical. I remember calling out his name, "Evan?" and hearing the echo bounce back from the hall. No answer. That's when I heard the humming, a low, constant buzz from the kitchen, familiar, but heavier. When I turned the corner, I stopped breathing. There it was, a second refrigerator, tall, metallic, gleaming in the light from the window like it had always belonged there, right beside mine. "Evan?" I asked again, softer this time. He appeared from the laundry room, wiping his hands on a towel, eyes red like he hadn't slept. "Oh, hey, Mom," he said, casual. "Welcome home." I pointed at the fridge. "What's that doing here?" He didn't even hesitate. "It's mine." Just like that. 3 words that didn't belong in this house. I blinked. "Yours?" "Yeah," he said. "You've got yours. I've got mine." Something in his tone made my stomach twist. Not anger, not defiance, just detachment. Like he'd drawn a line through the kitchen and claimed his half. I wanted to laugh it off. Surgery meds can make the world feel stranger than it is. But when I opened my own fridge, I froze again. Half empty. Everything I'd left inside was gone. My yogurt, my leftovers, even the note from my friend Carla on the door. "Evan, what happened to—" "Relax, Mom," he interrupted. "You shouldn't be worrying about food right now." He smiled then, but it wasn't warm. It was the kind of smile people wear when they're hiding something. I told myself not to make a scene. I was still healing. But something about that other fridge? It bothered me. It wasn't just out of place. It felt secretive. A silver monolith humming in the center of my kitchen like it was keeping a heartbeat of its own. That night, I tried to sleep. The pain meds made everything hazy, but the humming wouldn't let me rest. Every few minutes, I heard the click of the compressor. Then another sound. Faint footsteps downstairs. At 2:47 a.m., I sat up and listened. He was in the kitchen again. I tiptoed halfway down the stairs. The fridge door was open. The light inside glowed pale blue, washing over his face as he reached in and pulled something out. Something small and metallic that he slipped into his pocket before closing the door. When I asked him the next morning, he just smiled and said, "You were dreaming, Mom." But I knew what I saw. And I knew that whatever was in that fridge, it wasn't food. The next few days blurred together. Evan insisted on handling everything. My meds, my meals, even my mail. He said it was for my recovery. But when I asked where the grocery receipts were, he got defensive. When I asked to check my own messages, he changed the subject. Then came the first real red flag. My neighbor, Mrs. Carter, dropped by with flowers. When she saw the new fridge, she froze mid-sentence. "Oh, I didn't know you bought another one," she said. I told her I didn't. Her eyes flicked to the hallway where Evan was standing. "Oh," she murmured, voice dropping. "Well, it looks nice." She didn't stay long. When she left, she didn't look back. That night, I found her note under my doormat. It read, "Celeste, be careful, something's not right." I called her the next morning. Her husband answered. Said she'd gone to visit her sister in Florida. Suddenly, I sat in the kitchen staring at that second fridge for what felt like hours. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard it hum, like it was whispering something I couldn't yet understand. That evening, Evan told me not to open it. "Mom, just leave my things alone, okay?" I asked him what was inside. He shrugged. "Stuff for work." But Evan doesn't work. He quit his job last year after the divorce. I remember whispering to myself, "Then what kind of work needs a lock on a refrigerator?" Because that's what I saw next. A small chrome lock right at the handle. He installed it while I was napping. When I confronted him, his tone sharpened. "Mom, you need rest. Stop stressing about things you don't understand." That was when I felt it. The shift. The air between us wasn't mother and son anymore. It was something colder, like I'd stepped into someone else's house entirely. Before we continue, tell me in the comments. Have you ever come home and felt something was off? Like your own space didn't belong to you anymore? Drop your city and time below. I want to see where everyone's watching from. And if you're still with me, hit subscribe now. Because what I found inside that fridge changed everything. I didn't sleep. Every few minutes the hum changed pitch, like the machine was breathing. At 5 a.m., the heater kicked on, and I decided I couldn't lie there another second. My robe dragged behind me as I walked to the kitchen. The new refrigerator gleamed in the half-light, stainless steel catching the dawn. My own fridge sat beside it, older, dented, suddenly small. Two worlds sharing one wall. A faint puddle spread from under Evan's fridge. Not water. Something darker. I knelt, but before I could touch it, I heard his footsteps on the stairs. He startled when he saw me. "Mom, what are you doing up?" "I heard a noise." "It's just condensation. Go rest." He wiped the floor too quickly, towel twisting in his hands. I noticed the tiny key hanging on a cord around his neck, the same chrome color as the fridge lock. That morning felt different. My kitchen table had new placemats. My favorite mug was missing, even the magnets on the door, gone. Every trace of me was being erased, one quiet change at a time. He brewed coffee, poured only 1 cup, and didn't ask if I wanted any. When I reached for the sugar, he moved the jar aside. "Doctor said cut back," he said lightly. I hadn't told him what the doctor said. Around 9, the doorbell rang. A delivery man handed me a small cardboard box addressed to Evan Montgomery Enterprises. I frowned. Enterprises? Evan was unemployed. Before I could ask, he snatched it from my hands. "Work stuff," he muttered, disappearing into the garage. Through the cracked door, I saw rows of new shelves, boxes, labels, something that looked like lab glassware. At noon, my friend Carla called. "Hey, birthday girl, how's recovery?" I tried to laugh. "I think my house changed personalities while I was gone." She paused. "What do you mean?" "There's a second fridge in my kitchen. Evan says it's his." Static on the line, then. "His? What's he keeping in it?" "That's what I'm trying to figure out." Carla lowered her voice. "Be careful, Celeste. Remember my cousin's son. He was hiding stuff too. Dangerous stuff." Before I could ask what she meant, Evan appeared in the doorway. He smiled, too broadly. "Phone call over?" I hung up. That evening, he brought dinner to my room, soup in a white bowl. Steam curled upward, smelling faintly metallic. "You didn't have to." "I want you to rest," he said. "No stress. Doctor's orders." He sat at the edge of my bed, watching me take the first sip. Too salty. But his eyes waited for approval, so I nodded. He smiled. "I knew you'd like it." When he left, I poured the rest into a plant by the window. Within minutes, the leaves drooped. I crept downstairs again. The fridge light blinked behind the lock seam, green, then red. A small digital panel I hadn't noticed before glowed for a second and went dark. What kind of refrigerator needs a security code? The house felt foreign now. The furniture, the smell, even the rhythm of footsteps. It all belonged to him, not me. I checked the pantry. Half my dishes were gone. The laundry room? New chemicals on the shelf. Industrial-grade cleaner. Labels with warning symbols. When I finally sat at the table, a photo caught my eye. It used to show Evan, his ex-wife Laura, and their little girl. Now the frame was empty. The picture had been cut out. I looked up to see him watching from the hallway. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked. "I was looking for something." He nodded toward the fridge. "Then you already found it." I didn't understand until he added softly, "Some things belong where they're kept, Mom. Don't move them." Then he walked away, the sound of his keychain tapping against the counter like a warning. That night, I locked my bedroom door. But through the thin wall, I still heard the hum. And under it, a whisper of metal sliding open. I told myself not to imagine it, until I smelled it. A sharp, sterile scent drifting through the vents. Cold. Chemical. Wrong. The house I'd lived in for 30 years no longer recognized me. And I realized neither did my son. By morning, the house was too quiet. No coffee brewing. No sound of Evan moving upstairs. Just that hum. It wasn't constant anymore. It pulsed, like breathing through a metal lung. Every few seconds it rose, then dipped. And beneath it, I could swear there was something else. A rhythmic clicking. I pressed my ear against the wall separating the kitchen from the hall. The sound wasn't just mechanical. It was alive. When I finally walked into the kitchen, sunlight spilled across the tiles. The new refrigerator gleamed like a mirror. On its surface, I could see myself, drawn, pale, robe still wrinkled from sleep. Then I saw something move inside the reflection. Not behind me, inside the reflection. A shape, quick and sharp, like a hand. I spun around. Nothing there. I told myself I was imagining it. Post-surgery medication, exhaustion, stress. But then I noticed something new on the fridge. A small printed label I hadn't seen before, just above the digital keypad. Unit B, property of EM Logistics. EM Logistics. Evan's initials. Was that what he meant by work stuff? Later that day, I tried calling Carla again, straight to voicemail. Then I dialed her office. They said she hadn't shown up since yesterday morning. That's when I started shaking, because Carla had told me she might drop by later to see the fridge for herself. By noon, I decided to confront Evan directly, but his car was gone, the garage door locked from the outside. So I took the spare key and stepped in. What I found stopped me cold. Rows of identical cardboard boxes, stacked shoulder high, each with a printed code, Lot NAR 47, temperature sensitive. I touched one, cold as ice. Condensation slid down its side. Next to the boxes stood a white cooler, half open. Inside, silver packets of clear liquid. No labels, no markings. Just then, the front door slammed. Evan's voice, closer than I expected. "Mom? What are you doing in there?" I panicked, shut the cooler, and shoved it behind a shelf. My pulse hammered as I stepped out, pretending to straighten the broom. "I was cleaning," I said. He smiled, too smoothly. "Always so helpful. But the doctor said you need rest." His tone was wrong. Flat. Almost rehearsed. That evening, I tried to act normal. We ate in silence, his phone propped beside his plate, the fridge humming steadily behind him. Then I noticed he'd changed the passcode panel. It now required a fingerprint scan. I laughed nervously. "Evan, what are you storing in there, Gold?" He didn't look up. Something like that. And then, after a beat, "Don't go near it again." When he went upstairs, I slipped into the laundry room again. From there, I could hear the hum through the wall, stronger than before. It sounded like two machines running out of sync. I moved closer, pressing my palm against the drywall. The vibration felt warm. Too warm. Then the faintest noise. A knock. From inside the wall. 3 slow taps. Pause. Then again. My breath caught. I backed away, bumping into the washer. For a moment, I didn't move. Had I imagined it? At 2 a.m., the humming stopped completely. The silence was louder than any sound. I crept downstairs again, flashlight trembling in my hand. The kitchen looked ordinary, too ordinary. But when I swept the light across the floor, it caught on something. A thin black cable snaking from behind the fridge, disappearing into the vent near the baseboard. I pulled it gently. It didn't budge. Then I realized it wasn't going into the vent. It was going through it, into the wall itself. The humming started again, sharper this time, like an alarm. I dropped the flashlight. I didn't sleep that night. Every hour I heard the hum change pattern. Once, it clicked 4 times, paused, then 2 short bursts, almost like Morse code. I started writing the patterns down. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was everything. At sunrise, I called the manufacturer listed on the back of the fridge, EM Logistics. No listing, no website, no record of the company anywhere. But the woman at directory assistance paused when I asked. Then she whispered, "Ma'am, are you sure that's the name?" Her voice trembled. "I think I've heard it before, from another caller." She sounded scared. The line went dead. That afternoon, Evan installed a new deadbolt on the garage door. When I asked why, he just smiled. Security upgrade. Then he handed me a new house key. But when I tried it later, it didn't fit my bedroom door anymore. That was the first day I realized I wasn't recovering. I was being contained. My son wasn't protecting me. He was isolating me. And whatever was inside that fridge, it wasn't food. The next morning, sunlight sliced through the blinds like blades. I'd barely slept. My notebook sat open beside the bed, covered in half-legible scribbles of numbers and Morse-like hums. When I finally dragged myself downstairs, the kitchen table was clean. Too clean. The newspaper that had been there last night was gone. So was my phone. "Evan?" I called out. No answer. I checked the counter again. Only one thing sat there now, a folded note. It read, "Running errands. Don't overthink. Rest. E." Underneath my phone, powered off. I pressed the button. Nothing. The battery was missing. That was when I remembered Carla. She'd promised to stop by 2 days ago. She never showed. I opened my laptop, logged into Facebook, typed her name. Page not found. That couldn't be right. Carla posted every morning. Pictures of her garden, her coffee, her dog. Gone. All of it. Something in me broke. I threw on my coat and walked straight to her house, 3 streets over. The neighborhood felt wrong. Too still, like the air was listening. When I reached her porch, her flower pots were tipped over. Mail piled in the box. The welcome mat was missing. I knocked once, twice. No sound from inside. Then I noticed the faintest glow through the window, a blue light, pulsing slowly, like a refrigerator LED. I pressed closer to the glass. Inside, in the center of the kitchen, stood another refrigerator, identical to Evan's. Same stainless steel finish, same digital panel, same faint hum. "Ma'am?" The voice startled me. A man in a navy polo stood at the edge of the yard, badge clipped to his belt. He introduced himself as Officer Daniel Cortez. "Everything all right here?" I stammered. "My friend lives here, Carla Evans. She hasn't answered in days." He frowned. "Evans, you said?" "Yes." He flipped through a small notepad. "I'm sorry, ma'am. There's an active missing persons report under that name, filed yesterday morning." The world tilted. I grabbed the porch rail to steady myself. "Who filed it?" I asked. He checked the page again. "Her employer at the pharmacy. Said she never came to work after leaving for a house call. Address listed, your street." I felt my stomach drop. "My street?" He nodded. "Yeah. Last GPS ping put her near your block around 6 p.m. Monday. That was the night before I saw the new fridge." "Do you mind if I ask your name, ma'am?" "Celeste Montgomery." He paused, then underlined it in his notes. "Any relation to Evan Montgomery?" "Yes, my son." Another pause. "Ma'am, is he home right now?" "No, he's out running errands." "Would you mind if we take a quick look around?" I hesitated. Every instinct screamed yes, but something else, fear, loyalty, denial, froze me in place. Maybe later. He doesn't like people touching his work equipment." He nodded, too easily, then handed me a card. "Call me if you see anything strange." He started walking back toward his car, but halfway down the street he stopped, turned, and said, "You might want to check your security cameras." Then he drove away. Security cameras. I didn't even know we had any. Back home, I looked above the front door. Nothing. Then I saw it. A small dome, tucked beneath the porch light. When had Evan installed that? I went inside, opened his office door. It was locked. But on the desk, through the small glass panel, I could see a monitor feed, split into 4 views: kitchen, garage, hallway, backyard. The kitchen view showed me walking in circles like a trapped animal. The timestamp said, "Live." Evan was watching me. I unplugged the router. The screen flickered to black. Then, 3 seconds later, came the hum, louder, angrier. The fridge lights blinked twice. A soft click sounded from inside, like a latch releasing. I froze. Slowly, I stepped closer. The door handle was ice cold beneath my hand. When I pulled it open, mist rolled out. White, heavy, chemical-scented. Inside, rows of sealed containers, each labeled with a date and 2 letters. CE. My hands started shaking so badly I almost dropped one. CE. Carla Evans. Just then, the front door opened. Evan's footsteps. I slammed the fridge shut and turned. He stood in the doorway, holding a paper bag. Groceries, maybe. But his face was too calm. "Mom," he said softly, "why are you crying?" My voice cracked. "What did you do to Carla?" His eyes flickered just once. "Carla? You mean the pharmacist?" He tilted his head. "She quit her job. Moved to Florida, didn't I tell you?" "No," I whispered. "You didn't." He set the bag on the counter, reached into it and pulled out something small. A battery. My phone battery. "Found this in the garage," he said. "You dropped it." He slid it across the counter like an offering, then added, smiling, "You shouldn't worry so much, Mom. The stress isn't good for your heart." That night, I locked my bedroom door and sat awake until dawn, listening. The hum didn't stop once, and every few minutes I swore I heard a faint tap from the vent, the same 3 beats as before. Tap, tap, tap. Like someone, or something, was trying to answer me. The rain began before dawn, soft at first, like fingertips on glass, then heavier, steady and unrelenting. I sat by the window in my robe, watching drops streak down the pane, trying to silence the questions clawing through my mind. Carla, the fridge, the hum, the boxes marked Lot Ducker 47. Every thread I pulled seemed to lead somewhere darker. By the time Evan left for work that morning, I'd made my decision. I was going into the garage again, this time all the way. He'd left the car running for a moment, texting someone from the driveway. The rain muffled everything, even my heartbeat. When the sound of his engine finally faded, I went to the hallway closet, grabbed the thin screwdriver from the tool set, and pried open the lock on the garage door. It gave with a soft click. The air hit me first. Cold, dry, chemical. The same scent that rolled out when I'd opened the fridge. I switched on the light. The rows of boxes were still there, stacked neatly along the far wall, condensation glistening under the bulb. But something else was new. A tarp draped over what looked like a frame, tall, human height. And behind it, a door I hadn't seen before. The door wasn't normal. It didn't match the rest of the garage wall. The paint was fresh, edges too clean, hinges brand new. There was a keypad mounted beside it. Same kind as the one on the fridge. I pressed a few numbers at random. The keypad beeped, red light flashing. Access denied. Then I heard it again, faint but unmistakable, the humming. Only this time, it wasn't coming from the fridge. It was coming from behind the locked door, and underneath the hum, a second sound. A steady, rhythmic beeping, medical, electronic, like a monitor. I leaned closer. The air seeping through the bottom crack was colder than ice. That's when I saw movement, a shadow sliding across the narrow line of light beneath the door. Someone, or something, was inside. My throat went dry. "Evan?" I whispered. Silence. Then one sharp knock from the other side. Not random, not echo. A response. I stumbled back, heart racing. I turned toward the shelf where the cooler sat last time. It was gone. In its place, a small tablet lay charging, screen dark. I pressed the power button. It lit up instantly. A login prompt appeared. EM Logistics, technician access only. And below it, a small line of text flickering faintly. Status, active. Unit sync in progress. Unit, sync. With what? I tried tapping around the screen. One folder opened. Inside, temperature logs. All identical values. 33 degrees. Every hour, same timestamp, except one. 2 nights ago, 3:17 a.m. Temperature spike, 98.6 degrees. Human body temperature. I dropped the tablet. It clattered loudly against the concrete. From behind the locked door came another sound, a hiss, mechanical, like air releasing from a pressure valve. Then, breathing. Not machine-like. Real. Slow. Unsteady. I backed up until my shoulders hit the garage wall. Every cell in my body told me to run, but I couldn't. I needed to know. I took one shaky step closer. Another. The hum rose and fell, pulsing like a heartbeat. Then, footsteps. Soft, deliberate. They stopped right at the other side of the door. For a full 10 seconds, neither of us moved. Then something slid through the crack beneath the door. A folded note, damp with condensation. I crouched, hands trembling, and picked it up. 4 words scrawled in pen. "He's not your son." I froze. My stomach twisted. The note was written in a shaky, familiar hand. Carla's handwriting. I'd seen it on recipe cards for years. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. I stumbled back, the note clutched in my hand, and ran. Through the hallway, into the kitchen, up the stairs. I didn't stop until I was inside my room with the door locked. For an hour, I just sat there, the rain pounding outside, reading those 4 words again and again. He's not your son. When I finally gathered the strength to move, I opened my old memory box. Birth certificates, photographs, school papers, Evan's baby bracelet from the hospital. Everything seemed normal. But then I noticed something odd. A faint watermark on the back of his birth record. It wasn't from the hospital I remembered. It listed a facility I'd never heard of before. St. Haven Research Institute. I turned on my laptop, typed the name into the search bar. Nothing. No listings, no archives, No trace. Just one old article cached in a medical journal from 2003. Private biotech project shuttered after ethics investigation. Multiple identity discrepancies cited. My heart sank. The publication's name blurred in my vision as I read the final line. Primary contact for legal closure, Evan Montgomery, logistics coordinator. The sound of the garage door opening downstairs jolted me upright. Evan was home early. I stuffed the papers back, locked the box, and shoved it under the bed. A moment later, his voice floated up the stairs. "Mom? Everything okay up there?" I forced a smile into my voice. "Just fine, sweetheart. Just resting." He paused, then said quietly, "Good. Don't go into the garage again, all right?" Another pause. Longer this time. "I'd hate for you to see something you don't understand." That night, I slept with the note under my pillow. I dreamed of Carla's voice whispering through the walls. The hum grew louder, and in the dream, Evan stood over me smiling. But his eyes were the wrong color. If you were in my place, would you open that locked door, or would you pretend you never saw the note? Tell me what you'd do in the comments below, and let me know where you're watching from and what time it is right now. Don't forget to subscribe, because in the next chapter, I finally learn what's really behind that door. And the truth isn't just unthinkable, it's inhuman. Morning crept in gray and heavy. The house smelled faintly of bleach. Somewhere beneath it, the metallic tang of cold air. I'd been awake all night, staring at the note. "He's not your son." The letters had bled slightly where the paper was damp, like the words themselves were trying to disappear. By sunrise, I decided I couldn't live another day not knowing. When Evan left for work, I waited 15 minutes. I counted every second out loud, pulse matching the clock. Then I went downstairs, screwdriver in hand. The garage was colder than before. The light flickered once and steadied. The keypad on the new door glowed faint blue. I pressed 0417, Evan's birthday, red light. Then 1123, the house number, red again. Finally, I entered my own birthday. The keypad clicked green. A rush of cold fog spilled out, curling around my ankles. I stepped through. The room beyond was small, maybe 10 feet across, lined with metal shelves and humming machines. Pipes ran into the walls like veins. Blue LEDs pulsed in rhythm, almost breathing. At the center stood a second unit. Not a fridge. Larger, cylindrical glass panels fogged with condensation. Cables snaked from it into the floor. A faint outline moved inside. I reached out. The glass was warm under my palm. Then the fog cleared, and I saw a face. For half a second, I thought it was a reflection. Same cheekbones, same gray streak at the hairline. But younger, healthier. Eyes closed, lips parted slightly. The face was mine. I stumbled back, heart hammering against my ribs. The machines beeped faster, the hum climbing pitch. It wasn't a corpse. It wasn't a mannequin. The chest moved, breathing. I whispered, "What is this?" A small monitor beside the unit blinked awake. Patient ID, CM02. Below it, status, stasis mode. Authorized caretaker, Evan Montgomery. I wanted to run, to scream, to tear the thing open. But the screen shifted again, showing an image I recognized instantly. A hospital room. Me, lying in bed after surgery. Date stamp, 2 weeks earlier. The camera angle was wrong. It wasn't from the hospital feed. It was from above, like someone filming secretly. Underneath, a line of text scrolled. Successful extraction. Subject ERO2 stabilized. Extraction? I turned toward the far wall and saw shelves stacked with files, each labeled by initials and date. One folder read, CE, Deceased 2025, Carla Evans. My throat closed. I flipped the folder open, a medical chart, vitals, photos of Carla's kitchen, and a signed consent form. Not her signature. Across the top corner, a logo, EM Logistics, Bio-Continuity Program. Before I could read more, the intercom crackled. "Mom?" Evan's voice. But it wasn't coming from outside. It was coming from the ceiling speaker. He sounded calm, almost gentle. "I told you not to go in there." I spun, searching for a camera. A small red light blinked in the corner. "What is this place, Evan?" I shouted. "What did you do to her? What did you do to me?" Silence. Then, "I saved you." The words dropped into the room like stones. "You were dying after surgery. I couldn't lose you, so I copied you. I fixed you." My knees went weak. "You what?" "She's still incomplete," he continued. "The process takes time. You're not ready to understand yet." The hum shifted pitch. A deep thrumming, like something waking up. Inside the glass, my duplicate's eyes fluttered. For a moment, they opened, staring straight at me. Not blank, not unaware, focused. And in her gaze, I felt something cold crawl beneath my skin. Recognition and fear. She mouthed one word. "Run." The intercom clicked again, static crackling through Evan's voice. "Don't listen to it. You're confused. You need rest." I stumbled backward, slammed my hand against the door panel. It didn't respond, locked from his side. Then, alarms. Red lights flashing, the hum becoming a roar. The glass unit began to drain, mist flooding the floor. I turned toward the shelves, grabbed the nearest folder, clutching it to my chest. "Evan!" I screamed. "What are you doing?" He didn't answer. Just the soft, steady tone of the machines powering down. The keypad light turned green again. I bolted out, slamming it shut behind me. In the kitchen, the fridge's hum synced perfectly with the noise from the wall, two rhythms merging into one. The lights flickered. On the counter sat a new note. Just one line in Evan's precise handwriting. "She woke up early." When the lights finally stopped flickering, I was sitting on the kitchen floor, clutching the stolen folder like a lifeline. The pages were damp with sweat, my hands shaking so badly I could barely read. EM Logistics, Biocontinuity Program. EM, Evan Montgomery, my own son's initials. I wanted it to be coincidence. It wasn't. The first few pages looked like medical records, vitals, scans, genetic markers, all mine. But the dates didn't make sense. According to this, Celeste Montgomery had been declared brain dead 5 days after her surgery, the same surgery I'd just come home from. Yet here I was, breathing, thinking, remembering. Mostly. That word kept circling my mind like a hawk. Mostly. Because if what I saw downstairs was real, then maybe I wasn't the original anymore. I grabbed my phone. It was 2:47 a.m. Evan's contact photos smiled up at me, that same clean, confident grin from his college graduation. For a split second, I saw someone else in his eyes, someone colder. I didn't call. Instead, I opened a browser and typed, EM Logistics Atlanta, Biocontinuity Program. Nothing. No website, no business listing. Then, in a deep forum thread about medical ethics, I saw a comment from 2 years ago. If you hear about EM logistics or continuity trials, run. They're not saving people, they're replacing them. I heard a soft sound behind me, a mechanical click. The fridge light had come on by itself. Its hum deepened, a low vibration that made the window glass tremble. On the inside of the door, faint frost lines were forming words. It looked like a handprint dragged through condensation, shaping letters. 4 words. Check the basement files. I stepped back. The fridge door creaked shut on its own. By morning, Evan was home again. He walked in whistling, too casually. He kissed my forehead like always, asked how I was feeling. Resting, I said, trying to remember what day it is. He smiled. You've been through a lot. Don't push yourself. The way he said it made my stomach tighten. Don't push yourself, like a reminder to stay in line. He headed upstairs to shower. That gave me 8 minutes. I slipped into the basement again, folder under my arm. The keypad light was still blinking green. This time, I didn't go through the side door. Instead, I followed the pipes from the unit, where they vanished into the far wall. There, behind a stack of paint cans, I saw another panel. A small, square vent cover, not quite flush with the wall. I pried it open. Inside, more folders, at least 20, each one labeled with 2 initials and a date. MS 2022, DK 2023, LR 2024. Every year, 1 or 2. Each had the same header, EM Logistics, Continuity Phase, and the same handwritten signature on the bottom corner, E. Montgomery. I froze. A new message. From an unknown number. Stop looking. You're not supposed to know yet. My pulse spiked. I turned off my phone immediately. Too late. A second message came through before the screen went dark. She's not stable. Keep her cool. She. The one in the glass. I opened the folder marked LR 2024. Inside was a photo of a man I recognized, Liam Rourke. He'd lived 3 houses down from us for years, had a stroke last spring. His wife said he never woke up, but I'd seen him mowing the lawn just 2 weeks ago, except now I wasn't sure if it was him. The report listed, original deceased 040324, replacement operational 040924, replacement operational. The words felt mechanical, wrong, sterile, like something out of a factory manual, not human. Footsteps creaked overhead. Evan was done showering. I slid the folders back, leaving one under my sweater. The vent cover clicked shut just as he came down the stairs. "Mom?" he called softly. His voice, smooth, warm, the kind of calm that feels rehearsed. "Did you sleep okay?" I forced a smile. "I was just checking the water heater. Sounded off again." He nodded. "Yeah, these old houses. Always something, right?" He stepped closer, looking at me just a little too long, like he was scanning me. Then, "You remember the new medication, right? Top shelf in the kitchen?" Medication? He'd never mentioned that before. "Of course," I lied. He smiled again, perfect, unblinking. When he left for work, I waited by the window, watching his car back out of the driveway. He drove east, toward downtown. But halfway down the street, he turned left instead, toward Rourke's pharmacy. I felt my breath hitch. Rourke, LR. The same initials from the file. I grabbed my coat, the hidden folder, and followed on foot. It was cold and quiet outside, the kind of crisp Atlanta morning that looks clean, but hides a storm in the air. When I reached the end of the block, I saw his car parked in front of an old building with no signage, a single steel door. Through a crack in the blinds, I caught a glimpse of a sterile white hallway, and someone walking toward Evan in a lab coat. For a second, I thought I saw her again. My face, through the glass. Then the door shut. I backed away slowly. My heart was pounding so hard I thought he'd hear it echo. At the corner, I stopped, opened the folder, and found one final page I hadn't read yet. Continuity Phase. Alpha. Parental Integration Trial. Under it, my name. And next to it the words, Status. Observation ongoing. Terminate if non-compliant. That's when I realized it. I wasn't investigating my son anymore. I was part of his experiment. And the part that terrified me most? I couldn't tell if I was the mother who raised him or the replica he built to replace her. I followed him that morning the way you follow a nightmare you're half afraid to wake up from. Every instinct told me to turn back, but the air felt magnetic, pulling me closer to the truth I'd been circling for days. Evan's car was parked beside that unmarked steel door again, the one with no sign, no windows, no reason to exist. The hum of electricity bled through the walls. He swiped a badge and slipped inside. I waited 5 seconds. 10. Then I moved. The door was heavier than it looked. A keypad blinked to life the moment my hand touched the handle. Same pattern as the basement. 3 digits, pause, 2 digits. I tried the only sequence I knew by heart. 0502, my birthday. The green light flicked on. I froze, because if that code worked here too, he'd built all of this with me in mind. Inside, the hallway was freezing cold, the kind of sterile chill that seeps into bone. White walls, humming vents, bright LED panels that cast no shadows. Every few feet, I passed a door with a small metal plate. Observation Lab A. Integration Suite 3. Continuity Wing. I didn't understand any of it, not yet. But the smell, that faint mix of antiseptic and ozone, it felt too clinical to be anything but medical. Footsteps echoed. I ducked behind a storage cart. 2 figures passed. Lab coats, clipboards, calm voices. One said, "Unit E12 shows cognitive lag again." The other replied, "Adjust the memory loop. We can't risk another divergence." Unit. Memory loop. They weren't talking about patience. I moved deeper down the hall until I reached a set of double doors marked Containment Level 2. A keycard reader blinked red, but through the glass panels I could see faint blue light pulsing. And then I saw them. Rows of transparent chambers lined the walls, each filled with a pale, motionless figure suspended in translucent fluid. Every one of them connected to a web of glowing tubes. It took a second to understand what I was looking at, and then it hit me. They were people, copies, each face eerily familiar, like half-remembered dreams. Some I recognized, neighbors, distant relatives, even a few strangers I'd seen around the neighborhood. And in the far corner, I saw her. Me. She floated in the tank, eyes closed, hair drifting like seaweed. Her hand twitched once, lightly, against the glass. It was me. Down to the scar on my wrist, the mole under my eye, the faint line on my cheek from when I fell as a child. I staggered back, my throat locking shut. The world tilted. Then I heard his voice. "Mom?" Evan stood behind me, holding a tablet, calm as ever. But his eyes, they weren't shocked to see me there. He'd expected this. "You shouldn't be here," he said quietly. His voice wasn't angry. It was disappointed, almost gentle. "What is this?" I whispered. He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped closer, the blue light glinting off his face. "It's what you asked for," he said. "When you said you never wanted to feel pain again." My chest went cold. "I didn't ask for this." He tilted his head. "You did. Maybe not with words, but you meant it." He turned the tablet around. On the screen, I saw footage from the hospital. Me, delirious, hooked to monitors, whispering through tears. "I just want to be done with all this pain." Evan's voice on the recording. "I can make it stop." He walked toward the tank, placed his palm against the glass. "She's peaceful," he murmured. "Perfectly stable. No fear, no sickness. Just quiet." I stepped closer too, staring at myself. Her lips moved, forming a faint whisper I could barely hear through the fluid. "Run." The lights flickered. Evan didn't seem to notice. He tapped the tablet again, and new footage appeared, a feed from a small camera in my own kitchen. Me walking, cooking, sleeping. Every motion logged, timed, catalogued. He turned back to me. "She's the original," he said. "You're the continuity." The words didn't make sense at first. Then they did. And when they did, my knees nearly gave out. "You mean I'm a copy?" He smiled faintly. "No, you're more than that. You're an improvement. No more disease. No more weakness. I saved you, Mom." My hand trembled. "If that's true, what happened to her?" He looked back at the tank. "She's resting. It's what she wanted." I took a step back. Every nerve in my body screamed to run. "You didn't save me," I said. "You replaced me." For the first time, his expression cracked, just slightly. "Would you rather I let you die?" he asked. Everything I've done, every decision I've made, was to protect you, to preserve you. The words echoed through the sterile hallway, bouncing off the glass chambers around us. Preserve, protect, replace. It all blurred together. He reached out, touched my shoulder. His hand was cold. "You'll understand soon," he said. "This is just the beginning." And then he pressed something on the tablet. The tanks began to drain, one by one. Fluid spilled across the floor like fog. Eyes fluttered open inside the chambers. Dozens of them. Half asleep, half breathing. Becoming. Evan's voice rose over the chaos. "They're all part of you now. Every version perfected, synchronized." I stumbled backward as alarms blared. Each chamber glowed brighter. And through the blur, I saw my face multiplied in every direction. Not one reflection, 100. That was the moment I realized the truth. He wasn't just building replacements. He was building an empire of continuity. And somewhere above all this, someone was funding him. Someone powerful enough to keep it hidden. That was when I saw the logo stenciled on the far wall, glowing faintly in blue light. Montgomery Biotech, a division of Tidal Corporate Holdings. I didn't understand what it meant yet, but one thing was clear. Evan wasn't the one in control anymore. The Tidal Corporate building didn't look like the kind of place where people lost their souls. It looked like progress. Glass walls, silver edges, the kind of architecture that glows confidence. Atlanta's skyline shimmered around it, all glass and light. But beneath the reflection, I could feel it. The same hum I'd heard in my kitchen, behind the fridge. A vibration that wasn't mechanical. It was alive. I walked through the front doors like I belonged there. A nurse's coat I'd borrowed from an old friend draped over my arm, a visitor's badge clipped to my chest. No one looked twice. They never do when you look certain. On the directory screen near the elevator, I saw it. Tidal Corporate Holdings, Executive Level, Suite 52B. And beneath that? EM Continuity Program, Partner Division. Partner Division. That word sat heavy in my stomach. The elevator ride felt endless. The higher it went, the thinner the air became. Sterile, chilled, the smell of lemon and money. When the doors opened, the hallway was empty. At the far end, a glass door waited with a frosted logo that glowed faintly blue. Tidal Corporate Holdings, Advancing Human Continuity. The same slogan I'd seen stamped on the file in the basement. I slipped inside. It was silent except for the faint rhythm of a projector and the muted hum of city traffic far below. A conference table stretched across the room, ringed with high-backed chairs. And at the head of the table sat a woman. Immaculate white suit, silver hair pulled tight, calm, like she'd been waiting for me all morning. "Mrs. Montgomery," she said softly. "Please, sit." I didn't ask how she knew my name. The chair was cold under my hands as I sat. "I've been expecting you," she continued. "You've seen too much too soon. Evan was supposed to introduce you gradually." "Introduce me to what?" I asked. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "To yourself," she said. A screen flickered to life behind her, showing rows of data points, brain scans, waveform patterns, each line labeled with a name and timestamp. "These," she said, gesturing to the screen, "aren't clones. They're continuity maps, cognitive replications." I frowned. In English. "Imprints," she clarified. "Memory architectures built from harvested neural data. The continuity program doesn't recreate bodies, Mrs. Montgomery. It rebuilds minds." She leaned forward, her tone clinical. "When your son began his work, it was small. Therapeutic memory correction for trauma patients. But Tidal saw something larger." She tapped a key on the console. The display shifted to a massive network diagram. Thousands of interconnected lines forming a map of human consciousness. "Imagine," she said. A world where death, dementia, even grief are obsolete. Where we can capture every thought, every instinct, and reinstall it into optimized frameworks. You mean, I said slowly, erase people and rebuild them? Her eyes flickered. Refine, she corrected. We don't erase. We filter. Remove what's inefficient, emotional, unpredictable. I stood up. You're rewriting human beings. She smiled again. Not rewriting, Mrs. Montgomery. Upgrading. My pulse hammered in my ears. You used my son, I said. You turned him into a weapon. The woman tilted her head slightly. Evan is brilliant, but he's not a victim. He volunteered. He believed the world would be better without pain, without confusion. She paused, her gaze steady. He started with you. I felt the floor tilt under me. What do you mean? After your surgery, she said, we offered him a choice. You were in critical decline, fading. He could either lose you or preserve you. Her tone softened, almost kind. He didn't know that preservation meant integration. That once your mind was mapped, we could replicate your neural pattern into a continuity frame. She pointed at the glowing lines on the screen. Each one of these lines represents a live consciousness still active in its host. You're one of them. I backed away. You're saying I'm not real? She laughed quietly. Oh, you're real, Mrs. Montgomery, but you're curated. Every memory you think is yours, every emotion you've felt since waking up, it's been synchronized for stability. By who? The woman looked almost amused. By title, by us. You are a functioning test of the continuity system, version 4.2. Her expression shifted, like she was studying a subject under glass. You've adapted better than most. The air felt thinner by the second. I gripped the edge of the table to steady myself. You can't control people like this, I said. You can't just decide who stays human and who doesn't. Of course we can, she said calmly. That's progress. And you of all people should understand. Your son inherited that from you. I blinked. What? She turned another screen toward me. It showed an older photograph. Me, younger, standing at a research podium, the title logo behind me. The caption read, Dr. Celeste Montgomery, Chief Cognitive Architect, Project Continuity. My breath caught. I worked here? You built the early model, she said. Before your accident. Before your son continued your legacy. You don't remember because we reset your timeline to protect the prototype data. She stepped closer, her voice lowering. You didn't lose your past, Celeste. We took it. You gave us permission long ago. The room blurred, blue light melting into white. Fragments of memory flickered at the edge of my mind. A lab, a clipboard. Evan as a child sitting in a testing chair. My own voice saying, let's make sure he never forgets me. It wasn't just his project. It had always been mine. The woman's hand rested lightly on my shoulder. You see, the continuity program isn't evil. It's love, immortalized. I met her gaze, steady now. No, I said quietly. It's obsession. And it's not love if you take away choice. A red light flashed across the glass wall. Her expression changed. You shouldn't have accessed level 52, she said sharply. They'll come for you now. Evan can't protect you this time. I backed toward the door. Then I'll protect myself. As I slipped into the elevator, the last thing I saw was her reflection. Perfectly calm, perfectly still. And for a heartbeat, her eyes flickered the same shade of blue as the continuity display. Not human, not anymore. The drive back from the title building felt longer than it should have. Every red light lingered too long. Every passing car seemed to follow me. Atlanta looked the same. But I wasn't. The woman's words looped in my head like a broken record. You built this. You gave us permission. How do you reconcile a truth like that? You don't. You find the person who made it necessary. By the time I pulled into my driveway, the storm had thickened. Lightning sliced across the sky, flashing against the windows. Inside, every light was off except one, the one above the kitchen. That's where Evan was waiting. He stood by the fridge, that fridge, arms crossed, eyes tired. He didn't look like the villain the boardroom woman described. He looked like a son who hadn't slept in days. "Mom," he said softly. His voice cracked. "I was going to tell you." "Tell me what?" I asked. "That you've been lying to me for years? That I'm not who I think I am? That this—" I gestured to the walls, the house, the hum I could hear under my own heartbeat. "Isn't real?" He flinched, like every word was a knife. "It is real," he said. "Just not the way you remember." He walked to the fridge, placing a hand on the steel door. "This isn't a refrigerator," he said quietly. "It's a stabilizer. It keeps your system synchronized." "My system?" He nodded. "When you had your accident, you were brain dead for 7 minutes. The doctors said you wouldn't wake up. But I had your old research files, the neural continuity templates you built before you left Tidal." He took a shaky breath. "I used them to bring you back." Lightning flashed again, and for a second, I saw the truth in his eyes. Not malice, but mercy. A desperate kind. "You didn't save me," I said slowly. "You replicated me." He didn't answer. He didn't need to. "You were gone, Mom," he whispered. "Dad was gone too. I couldn't lose you both. You left behind everything I needed. Your research, your voice notes, your neural map. I finished it. I made it work." The air between us thickened, heavy with everything we'd never said. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked. He looked down. "Because you were happy. You had peace for the first time in years. I didn't want to ruin that." I almost laughed, the kind that breaks instead of comforts. "You don't get to decide that, Evan." "I had to!" he shouted suddenly, voice cracking through the thunder. "I had to, Mom. They were going to shut me down. Tidal didn't care about you, about your life. They just wanted the framework, the architecture. So I gave them a sanitized copy and hid you." I froze. "A copy?" He looked up, eyes wet, raw, terrified. "There are versions, Mom. But you're the original consciousness. The first one that worked. The one they couldn't replicate." I stepped back, the floor creaking under my heel. "How many versions?" He hesitated. 3, maybe 4. "Maybe?" I said, voice trembling. "Do you even know which one I am?" He closed his eyes. "Yes," he whispered. "You're her. You're my mother. I'd know you anywhere." I wanted to believe him, but the part of me that had seen that boardroom screen, that endless web of names and data, knew better. "You said you gave them a sanitized copy," I said. "What happens if they find out you hid me?" He swallowed hard. "They won't. They can't. The prototype hardware's only here, in this house. If they deactivate the stabilizer, you'll—" He stopped. "You'll fade." For a long time, neither of us spoke. Just the storm outside and the quiet hum of the machine that was somehow keeping me alive. I thought about the woman in the white suit, her calm certainty. "You are curated." Maybe she was right. Maybe all of this, the anger, the confusion, even the fear, was scripted emotion, embedded to keep me stable. Or maybe it was real. Maybe the proof that I was human was the fact that I still felt betrayed. I looked at him, my son, my creation, my curse. "You said they can't find me," I said. "But what if they already have?" He froze. "What do you mean?" I turned toward the window. Across the street, parked beneath the flickering streetlight, was a black sedan. No lights, no movement. "They followed me home," I whispered. "They know." Evan moved quickly, grabbing a small device from the counter. a sleek glass cube glowing faint blue. He pressed it into my hand. If anything happens, use this. It'll trigger a data dump, send your entire consciousness pattern to an external drive. And then what? Then you run, he said. Find Jada. She's off the grid. She knows how to hide people like us. People like us? He looked me dead in the eye. There's more than one continuity subject, and not all of them want to stay saved. We both froze. 3 sharp knocks followed. Evan whispered, "Mom, whatever happens, don't open that door." His voice trembled, but his hands were steady. He moved toward the hall, glancing once over his shoulder. "I'll buy you time," he said. "Go to the basement. Now." As he disappeared down the hallway, I heard voices outside. Calm, professional, rehearsed. Title voices. "Mr. Montgomery," one of them said. "We just need to verify a few things. No need for alarm." The hum beneath the house grew louder, as if the walls themselves were aware. I clutched the cube in my hand. Blue light pulsed once, faint and rhythmic, like a heartbeat. My heartbeat. They didn't break the door down. That's what unnerved me most. They knocked. 3 polite, patient knocks, like they were visiting an old friend, not hunting something they built. I stayed frozen at the top of the basement stairs. Every nerve in my body screamed to move, but my legs wouldn't obey. Down the hall, Evan whispered something I couldn't catch. Then, silence. The house hummed, a deep, resonant vibration I'd never noticed before. The lights flickered, once, twice, then steadied. From where I stood, I could see the reflection of the front hallway in the glass of the kitchen window. 2 silhouettes outside, one tall, one shorter, both still as statues. Then a voice, calm and clinical. "Mr. Montgomery, this is Compliance Division. We'd like to ensure the environment remains stable. Please open the door." The way he said environment made my stomach twist. Not home, not residence. Environment, like a lab. I took one careful step down toward the basement. The stairs groaned beneath me. Then another knock, firmer this time. "Sir, we've detected a destabilization event. If we need to intervene, it will complicate her reintegration." Me. They were talking about me like I was an asset, not a person. "Mom," Evan hissed. He appeared in the hallway, pale, sweating. He had something in his hand, a slim silver remote with a single red light at the top. "They traced the stabilizer frequency," he whispered. "They're trying to resync you manually. If they do that, they'll overwrite everything. Your memories, your identity, everything I restored." "What do we do?" He looked toward the front door. "They won't come in unless I authorize it." He swallowed hard. "And if I don't?" Before he could finish, a soft click echoed from the lock. The front door creaked open on its own, just a few inches. Evan's eyes went wide. They hacked the access code. He darted forward, pressing his shoulder against the door. "Go," he mouthed. "Now." I hesitated. He looked so young in that moment, like the boy who used to build things from spare parts, who used to bring me coffee when I worked too late. Then the hall lights flickered again, longer this time, and the hum in the walls rose an octave. I turned and ran. The basement was darker than I remembered, damp, cold. The hum was louder here, vibrating through the concrete floor. I fumbled for the cube Evan had given me. The blue light blinked steadily in my palm. Halfway down the stairs, a faint sound stopped me. A voice. Soft, feminine, distant. Celeste. My name. But not in my son's voice. I froze, listening. "You shouldn't run," it said. "It only hurts more when you fight the reset." It was coming from the basement itself. I reached the bottom and looked around. There was another refrigerator, identical to the one upstairs, humming faintly in the dark. But this one was open. Inside wasn't food or drink. It was light. a soft, pulsing glow that cast shadows across the walls like liquid silver. And there, half hidden by the light, stood another figure. A woman, my height, my shape, facing the wall. "Don't be afraid," she said. "He did this because he loves you." My breath caught. "Who are you?" I whispered. She turned slowly, and I saw me. Her face was calm, too calm. Every line of it perfect, no tremor, no emotion, no life. "I'm Celeste Montgomery," she said. "Original continuity thread, revision 3. The cube in my hand pulsed faster, as if reacting to her voice. "You're not supposed to exist," she said softly. "He wasn't supposed to make two of us." "I'm not," I started, but the words felt thick in my throat. She stepped closer, her eyes bright and glassy. "They're coming to fix it," she whispered. "One of us will be erased." Evan shouted my name. Then, another sound, a low hiss. Gas? No. Static. The lights downstairs flickered out completely. I turned back toward the stairs and saw shadows moving under the crack of the basement door. 3, maybe 4. The woman who looked like me smiled faintly. "You'll thank them," she said. "When it's over, you won't remember any of this." She reached for me. I stumbled back, the cube glowing white-hot in my hand. "Stop!" I shouted. The cube pulsed once, then projected a faint wave of blue light. It hit her chest, and she froze mid-step. For a second, I thought she'd vanished. But then her voice changed, distorted, layered over with dozens of overlapping tones. Continuity breach confirmed. Restoration sequence initiated. The hum under the house turned into a roar. Every light upstairs went out. Evan's voice echoed faintly from somewhere above. "Mom, trigger the dump, now!" I looked down at the cube. Its light had shifted from blue to red. There were no instructions, no labels, just a single pulse, steady and rhythmic. I thought about what he'd said. "If anything happens, use this. It'll send your entire consciousness pattern to an external drive." I tightened my grip. If I pressed it, I might lose everything. If I didn't, they would decide who I got to be. I pressed the cube. For a moment, everything folded inward. Light, sound, memory, all collapsing into a single point. Then, silence. When I opened my eyes, the basement was empty. No copy, no fridge, no sound. Just me. And the faint echo of my own name, repeating somewhere far away. Celeste wakes strapped to a padded recliner in a sterile white room. A wall-sized screen glows with Tidal's logo and the words, "Mirror Protocol, Stage 1, Orientation." A calm female AI voice greets her. "Good morning, Dr. Montgomery. Congratulations. Your continuity stream has been stabilized." Celeste tests her restraints. They retract automatically. A door slides open and Dr. Keller, a composed compliance officer, steps in with a tablet. He insists she's been asleep for months. He shows her footage of Evan's accident, a lab explosion she supposedly caused. Her memories flash back. Lightning, the cube, the second Celeste. But Keller's version replaces each with simulation artifacts. Then, as he leaves, the room lights flicker, and a different voice whispers from the intercom. "He's lying. They're rewriting you again." On the back of her hand, faint blue code begins to pulse, the cube's signature. She's escorted through Tidal's containment wing. Glass corridors, silent observers, rooms labeled Archive Subject 2 to 4. In one cell she glimpses another Evan, younger, confused, whispering, "Mom," before guards black the glass. Keller explains their iterative memory constructs, fragments of her psyche used for system testing. But Celeste spots a maintenance drone with a serial number she recognizes from her home's stabilizer unit. Proof. This isn't a dream. They brought her house data inside. That night she short-circuits her door sensor using a metal IV clip and crawls into the service duct. The hum she's followed since Chapter 1 grows louder, now coming from beneath the facility. Beneath Tidal's pristine labs lies an industrial vault filled with cryopods, each tagged Montgomery Rev AE. Inside one pod floats the real Evan, alive, sedated. A console nearby displays continuity transfer, awaiting authorization. Celeste inserts the cube into the port. The system recognizes her biometrics, unlocking hidden files, recordings of Evan confessing his deal with Tidal. He traded her prototype to save her life after the crash, never realizing they'd use it to harvest mines. She starts the reverse sync, trying to restore his consciousness to his real body, but alarms blare. Keller has detected the breach. Security drones corner her in the vault. Over loudspeakers, Keller urges surrender. You can't save him. The algorithm favors equilibrium. You're the imbalance. Celeste overrides the system manually, reciting the neural key she designed years ago, her fifth harmonic equation, a nod to the number 5 theme. Electric arcs surge through the pods. Data streams spiral around her like light ribbons. In the chaos, she glimpses Evan's eyes open. He mouths a single word. Run. She initiates Code 5, failsafe integrity vector extraction, triggering an EMP that fries every interface but preserves human memory cores. The facility plunges into darkness. Celeste wakes amid smoke. Half the archive has collapsed. Some pods are cracked, others gone dark. She finds Keller trapped under debris. He begs her to reboot the system before the constructs disintegrate. But on his wrist tablet, she sees the project's next phase. Mass licensing. Public Trials Q4. Instead of helping, she records his confession on the cube and leaves him with his machines. In the elevator to the surface, she looks at Evan, barely conscious, and whispers, "No more versions." She deletes every backup, including her own. Weeks later, Celeste and Evan live under new names in a quiet coastal town. He's recovering. She tends a small tech repair shop, avoiding screens. But one evening, the shop monitor flickers on by itself. Tidal's logo appears, then static, then her own recorded face, the version from the basement. You can erase the backups, the image says, but you can't delete what's inside you. Continuity never ends. The screen goes black. Behind her, a refrigerator hums softly, the same tone as before. Celeste smiles sadly. If they want me, they'll have to start from zero. She pulls the plug. Everything falls silent. You've been watching the Montgomery Continuum. Tell me where you're watching from, and what time it is right now. If you were Celeste, would you delete your other selves, or keep them alive just in case? Comment below, and subscribe before midnight. The next story begins where identity ends.